So what I probably will be doing is more of self-reflection, what this topic means to me. But at the same time, we'll also try to speak of it in the context of all of us today, that we don't have this physical presence, and what is the closeness that we are talking about? What is this journey to the land where Swami lives that we're talking about, and all such things. In the traditional sense, I was mentioning that when we talk about Salokyam, Salokyam is spoken of as reaching the land or the loka of that deity that you're worshipping. If you are a worshipper of Lord Vishnu, you reach Vaikuntha. If you're a worshipper of Lord Shiva, your aspiration is to reach Kailasha. Or if you follow the tradition of Shakteya, it is spoken of as you reaching Manidvipa or Shripura. That is supposed to be the loka of Devi. And you have many examples of this. You have the story of Tukaram towards the end going to Vaikuntha. There is this beautiful story. In fact, many of the stories that you read in this work called Periya Puranam, where they speak about the Shaivite devotees, is about those devotees elevating themselves to find a place in the loka of the Lord they're worshipping, Kailasha, right? There is this beautiful story. I'm sure some of you might be aware of the stories that come in Periya Puranam, of a devotee by name Amarnidi Nayanar, right? And he and his family, his wife and his child, was known to serve the devotees of Lord Shiva. Many of these Nayanmars, as they are called, the saints who were devoted to Lord Shiva, they had this feeling that we are the servant of the servant, as we was telling about the works of Kulashekara Alvar. Even Nammalvar says the same thing, that I just want to be a dasa of your dasa of your dasa, and that is enough for me, because the Lord is so the Supreme Lord. Who am I in front of him? So even the Amarnidi Nayanar and all these Nayanmars found delight in serving even the devotees of the Lord. So he had this particular form of worshipping where he wanted to serve these devotees who had given up everything. Right? They're Vairagis, so much so that they were not even clothed well. All they used to wear was a kaupinam or a loincloth. So he had this special form of serving them by having a collection of loincloth which he would give it to these devotees of Lord Shiva. And typically how the stories of Lord Shiva happen, the Lord decides to test this pious devotee of his. So he comes in the form of a renunciant wearing a kaupinam, and Amarnidi Nayanar offers to give him one pair. He says, no, I have only 2 pairs of loincloth and I don't use any more. I don't need any more. And immediately the devotee realizes that this is a great Vairagi. So then he says, if you want, I will give you my loincloth. I'll keep it with you for safe keeping, because it looks like it's going to rain and I have to go to the temple and come back. So you keep it with you, I'll come back and take. And he goes away, and there is a downpour, clearly out of the blue. There is this heavy rain, and he comes back drenched. Lord Shiva, in the form of this Vairagi, comes back drenched and comes and tells Amarnidi Nayanar, just give me back my loincloth. It was a good thing that I did. I gave it to you to keep it safe. Now I'm all wet and I need that spare. And the Nayanar goes back and he finds that this particular loincloth is missing, because it's the play of the Lord. So he comes back and he very apologetically submits before this Vairagi, and he says, I'm really sorry, I don't know what has happened. I've misplaced this cloth. I will give you a loincloth which is much better than the one that you gave me, right? Much better quality, a really good one, and all of that, he says. And Lord Shiva is here to play his game. So he says, no, I want only the one that I gave you. I want exactly that cloth. And the moment he says this, there is this argument which happens. And then Lord Shiva tells him that you have no idea how special my loincloth is. None of the cloth that you have or all the wealth that you have is equal to that. So finally, Lord Shiva says, okay, if you bring me a cloth which is exactly the same weight as the one that I have, right? He had, I think the story goes that he has 3 loincloths. One is tied up to the staff that he's having, one that he's wearing, and the one that is a spare, which he gives to this Nayanar. So he says, I will take the one which is tied to my staff. I will put it on the balance. Give me the cloth that is equal in weight to my loincloth. Right? It all seems very ridiculous, but that's the play that the Lord has come to enact. So a balance is brought, and this loincloth is placed. And Amarnidi Nayanar goes and brings his whole set of clothes that he has kept for giving away in charity. He starts putting one after the other, but the weights are not balanced at all. So he starts putting all the clothes that he has, and still it is not balanced. Then he goes and asks this monk, can I put the wealth that I have, the gold and the silver and all that I have? The monk smiles and he says, okay, try whatever you want. So he goes back and he brings all his gold and he places it in the balance. Still, it is not able to match the weight of one loincloth that is placed on the other balance. And Amarnidi Nayanar and his wife realize that this is not a small monk who is standing in front of him. This is not an ordinary monk. And this is not an ordinary event that is occurring in their life. So they have a small discussion amongst themselves. Then they go around the balance as a pradakshina. And the husband, the wife, and the son, all 3 of them sit on the balance. And then the balance starts dipping and the weight matches with that loincloth. Right? The Lord plays this Leela, but the way the whole episode ends is so beautiful. The Periya Puranam says that balance on which this entire family sat becomes the vehicle or the vahana with which Lord Shiva takes them to Kailasha. So that's how they get Salokya Mukti. They get entry into Kailasha, and that balance itself becomes that vehicle. So this is typically how Salokya Mukti is defined in traditional literature. But hearing stories like this, we all already get to know that this is reserved for the best of the best, right? And here I am, here you are, with all our limitations. Can we really aspire for that? Are we really worthy of that? But Swami has made this concept of Salokyam so understandable for us, because I look at it this way. It is not about we entering the loka of the Lord. Salokyam is, I think, when he steps into our loka. You can talk of it as avatar, right? He has descended into our loka, in our level of existence. But what it appears, what it applies even today when I talk about Salokya is, each of us have our own world, right? In my life, there is a world that is around me, and that world has some people. And if those people are happy, I'm happy. If those people are affected by something, I'm affected. Or I have a certain environment around me, and whatever happens there is happening in my world, right? If it is happening in a place which does not come into my knowledge at all, it doesn't bother me in any way. So when we say Salokyam, I feel it is this moment when the Lord chooses to step into my life, into my world. And I think that is what happened to all of us in this journey with Swami when Swami stepped into our world. And that is continuing to happen even today for innumerable devotees around the world, where Swami suddenly chooses that this is the appropriate time for me to step into your life. And this Salokyam does not come about very easily. We all know the 4 categories of devotees that Lord Krishna speaks about in the Bhagavad Gita. right? He says Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu, Jnani. And whenever we speak about these four categories, we tend to speak of the Arthi, the one who is out of pain turning to the Lord, as being a little, lower level devotee. We don't want to be an Arthi, we want to be at least a Jignasu or Jnani. Arthi and Artharthi are supposed to be worldly devotees. But a very profound point that is made in the Bhagavad Gita is, after living many, many lifetimes as a moral individual, leading a good moral life without harming anybody else, without cheating anybody else, leading a life of dharma, after many, many such lifetimes, when that Jivatma is in pain, he thinks of God or she thinks of God. So that devotion that is defined as arthi, when you're in trouble, you turn to God. Or when you are in need, artharthi, I am in need of something and I turn to God. That moment when you turn to God has come to be after so many lifetimes of good moral living. That moment of Salokyam, when in your consciousness you have given space to God. Of all the things, of all the people I can turn to, I am turning to this Supreme Lord. So I feel in our life, this Salokyam is when He chooses to step into our life, and when that happens, life has to change. Right? Because when we say Swami is stepping into my consciousness, so Swami is stepping into my equation of life, then automatically the way I look at life should be different. Maybe my aspirations could change. Maybe my milestones could change. My lifestyle could change. My perspective of life could change. My perspective of pain and pleasure, win and loss could change. Or ideally, all of this should change. When Swami steps into my life, I should change all of these things, or at least one of these, or some of these. So that Salokyam, that step of Salokyam should involve some amount of change. That's why Swami says that chamatkar that you experience in life, right? That moment of what you would like to call that moment which is like a sparkle, that is like a aha moment, right? A wow moment that happens in your life when he steps into your life, should lead to sanskar. That chamatkar should lead to sanskar, some form of transformation, some form of change. And that becomes a very, very important thing in each one of our lives, right? That Salokyam slowly beginning to some change in my life, because the moment he steps in, how can I look at life as the same way? How can I look at life as I have to struggle, I have to grab, I have to think about myself? So if we believe that we at least are in that stage of Salokyam, I think a question that all of us need to ask ourselves is, in what way have we changed to acknowledge this presence, this immense presence in our lives? And invariably, the moment this Salokyam comes, right, it'll lead to the next stage, or rather, he finds ways to lead to the next stage. I told you that I'm going to mix this up a little bit with a certain amount of self-reflection too, because when I look at my journey with Swami, I always say this, I was all of 17 years old when I came to Swami. So when I talk of this stage of Salokyam, where God steps into your life, for me it is when I came and became a student of Swami. That was the first time I had Swami's darshan. So when he came into my life, when he blessed me with that Salokyam, it did change a lot of things, right? I couldn't go back to leading my own life of a teenager in a city. For each one, it manifests in different ways, right? That moment of coming in front of God can manifest in different ways. I often used to think of it this way. Shabari has the blessing of Rama coming in front of her. She decides that I am not going to live any further. My life is fulfilled. The same Rama comes in front of Hanuman's life, and Hanuman says, henceforth I'm going to live only for him. And he becomes Chiranjeevi. He says, I'm not never going to give up this life at all, and I'm going to continue to live only for him. To great devotees, but the response to the same blessing was different, isn't it? But there should be a response. There should be an acknowledgement, and that acknowledgement should be in the form of some change in perspective and some change in our lifestyles and the way we approach life itself. But what happens is, when you come into Swami's fold, when I came into Swami's fold, the first step is that of awe. That, my God, I am in the presence of that Supreme Lord. I mean, he's not uh, just the Lord of Puttaparthi. He's not just the Lord of all the followers of Sanatana Dharma. He's not the Lord of all those who belong to this land of Bharat. The letter that he wrote to his brother, he says, Akhila manavulaku anandamunagurchi rakshincha chundute dikshanaku. He says, I have come for Akhila manavulaku. He says, all human beings. And at the same time, he's not only for this realm, he's for all realms. Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, we say. So when you feel that you are in the presence of someone so immense, you are just happy to hang around, right? You don't want anything more. You feel like, Swami, just let me be in one corner of this realm of yours. Let me just be somewhere. Let me just be some speck of dust in some corner. Give me any opportunity to serve you, be around you, and just be a fly on the wall. That's more than enough of a grace. And it's two things. One is you look at Swami and say that Swami is the Lord of all lords, and you also look at yourself and say, my God, I am so ordinary. I'm such a mean being, right? It's not an perspective that Swami appreciates, but that's how it is. As that beautiful bhajan that goes, the great Hari Om Sharan used to sing, Meli Chadhar. He says, I've come to you, Lord, with this dirty cloth. Right? I feel ashamed to come in front of you because I feel I've come with this soiled cloth, which is this body, which is my prarabdha, which is my sanchita, which is so dirty, and I feel embarrassed to come in front of you. Truly, that was the emotion that was there for many of us when we stood in front of Swami. Said, Swami, I don't deserve more than this. You have given me more than what I deserve. Let me just be there. But then that is only Salokyam, and Swami does not permit you to just be there, isn't it? He wants you to graduate. And I think this is where Swami uses his Maya to make us also believe that we are capable of going closer to him. Right? The first stage is like, oh God, Swami, you're this, you're that, you're great, you're this immense being, you're this Vishwa Virata. But then slowly he makes you forget that. He makes you forget that so that you will yearn for Samipya. He makes you forget that in this grand scheme of things, you're so limited, so that you will have the audacity to ask for nearness. And that is the blessing of Maya that he gave to us. Right? After a few years, you start feeling that, Swami, you didn't speak to me. Swami, you didn't come close to me. You didn't call me. You have not given me this. You have not given me that. Swami narrates how during the Krishna avatar, uh, Mother Yashoda has this vision, when she catches Krishna eating sand and she comes and says, "Hey, Krishna, open your mouth." And Krishna opens his mouth and gives the vision of the Brahmanda to Mother Yashoda. I mean, she has the vision of that same Virata Swarupa, right? Vishwarupa she's having in the mouth of this little toddler that she's nurturing. This little infant that she had come to discipline with perhaps a stick in her hand. And he opens his mouth and he is revealing who he is. And she's in Bhava Samadhi, right? She's lost. She looks at him and, oh my God, who is this? Who is this Krishna? Who is this child of mine? And Swami says the very next moment, Krishna covers himself with his Maya, removes this experience or the impact of that experience from Mother Yashoda's mind. But he doesn't do that out of cruelty. He does that so Yashoda can experience that Vatsalyam, that Samipyam that's born out of Vatsalya Bhakti. Right? Because if she continues to look at Krishna and says, "Oh God, you're the Supreme Lord," she will lose out on that devotion, I mean, that motherly devotion that she could enjoy in those few years that she mothered the Lord, isn't it? In the same way, I think Swami used his Maya to make us forget who he is, who we are, and give us this audacity to ask, "Swami, I want to be near you. Give me Samipyam." This is not enough. Just being around you is not enough. I want to be closer to you. I want to sit in front of you as close as I can. I want you to speak to me. I want more of your time. Right? That craving is created. And the beautiful thing is, he also creates the opportunities for Samipyam. Right? Otherwise, it is not possible at all. I recall one of my friends, uh, it was a time when Swami started giving darshan by driving through the hall in his car. And for the first few times when Swami had come for darshan that way, Swami would come with his windows rolled up. So it was very disappointing for all of us sitting there because we couldn't see Swami. Because the window, the car's glass was reflecting the chandelier lights, and we could barely see, an image of Swami behind that closed window. So when Swami was coming for darshan like that, I think one of my classmates had a letter with him, and Swami called him, and he got up and went to Swami. Either it was during this or an interaction which he had later in the interview room. But this is what he was telling us. He kind of protested to Swami. He said, "Swami, what is this? You were coming, you were walking and coming every day. We had a lot of opportunities. Then you slowly started reducing the darshans. You started reducing the time that you spent outside. Now, what is this? You're coming like this in a car. Right? And this is very bad, Swami. Like, I mean, you can't do this to us." Swami acknowledged that emotion, that devotion with which this boy was saying it. But then Swami also cut him short by saying, "Remember, proximity was never there. It was only granted." Swami said, "I created this opportunity of proximity. It is not your right. It is a blessing of grace." Right? And truly, whatever opportunity of Samipyam, that physical Samipyam that all of us had as students or devotees had, or the many people around Swami had, were all opportunities that Swami created to give us that physical Samipyam. I was talking to a devotee from Bahrain a few months ago, and he was narrating this thing as he was working in Bahrain, and all of a sudden he had this craving that he has to come and settle down in Parthi. Right? He says, I want to come and settle in Prasanthi Nilayam. Whatever work Swami gives me, I will do. I want to come and just be around Swami. But he was settled in a different city, in a different country. He had a family to provide for. He had parents who were aging. So he didn't know whether, there was this thought in his mind and he wanted to act on it, but he didn't know that if that was the right thing for him to do. So when he comes for darshan one time, when he was in Parthi one time, he writes a letter to Swami and he says, Swami, if you accept this letter, I'm going back to my city and I'm resigning my job and I'm relocating with my family to Parthi. And Swami comes and takes the letter and he goes back and he quits his job, he winds up, and people ask him, what happened? Did Swami tell you that you could come? And he said, no, Swami took my letter. And people said, are you crazy? You're moving with your family, with young children. And you're saying that you're doing all of this because Swami took a letter from you? He said, yes, I prayed to Swami and he took the letter and I'm going. And he came to Parthi and he didn't know what he's going to do. Right? And he narrated this. It's a very small event that happened where he says that was the time Swami was building the super specialty hospital and the airport in Puttaparthi. So when the airport was built, he said for 6 months, Swami also had a travel agency. Right? Maybe that was one of the requirements, or I don't know how that transpired. But there was a travel agency run by, which was initiated by the trust. I don't know who was running it and all that, initiated by Swami, by the trust. And this person professionally has been working in a travel agency. Right? And he says that when I look back now, it looked like that 6 months of the travel agency being created in the airport was purely for me to make this transition from my city to Puttaparthi. Right? He comes there, imagine he's been working in a travel agency for so many years. He comes to Puttaparthi and he's told that, you're coming from this background and we are going to start a travel agency. Would you be able to come and join us and help the working of it? And he says, yes. So literally he was like transferred from one travel agency to another, from a worldly one to Swami's for 6 months. And then of course Swami gave him some other job and he moved on. So he said, Swami created that opportunity so that I can move closer to him. Every opportunity of Samipyam that we have, that we hear about, when Swami said, I want to go to Kodaikanal, I'll take some boys along with me. I want to go to this particular place. I want to go to Badri on a yatra. Swami sends out letters to devotees and he says, all of you join me, we'll go on a Pati yatra. When we were students, if a devotee would come and invite Swami for some inauguration, or they said, Swami, we have this event in our house, please come and uh, inaugurate this. Or I remember when we were in undergraduate, uh, one devotee came and requested Swami to come to his house to name his granddaughter. Right? His granddaughter was not more than 20 days old. She was born, I think, the 1st of January, and he came and invited Swami to his house so that he can, participate, bless this naming ceremony of his granddaughter. And Swami said, oh, definitely. And Swami said, can I get some students along? Right? And that the devotee said, yes, Swami, we are arranging for lunch and please bring as many students as you want. And that's how some of us accompanied Swami to that devotee's house, and it was a very beautiful moment. It's today's Mother's Day. Uh, some of you must have seen a picture of Swami holding a small baby, completely bundled up. Swami is sitting on a beautiful green sofa, and Swami is holding this baby in his hand. That was the event when we all had been there, and Swami named that child. Swami called out to the child, and Swami opened his eyes. Uh, that's a different story. But the point I'm trying to make is every opportunity Swami got, Swami created this chance of Samipyam, this physical Samipyam for us. But this journey from Sarupyam to Samipyam, I'm sorry, from Salokyam to Samipyam, right? You have come to Swami, but this craving, because the moment you come in front of Swami, no amount of proximity is enough, right? No amount of time spent in his presence feels enough. This is a experience of every devotee. You go and speak to them. Those who came in the 90s will say that we should have come earlier. Those who came in the 80s will say that we should have come in the 70s. Those who came in the 70s will say we should have come earlier, right? Because however much time you spend with Swami, however close you are, it's not enough. So the moment that Salokyam comes, that Samipyam, that craving for Samipyam will come automatically. So Swami would do this play, right? One point I was mentioning yesterday is this journey, you really don't know how much of it is grace and how much of it is self-effort, like everything else in life. Right? Like everything that involves Swami, we don't know whether grace is in play or self-effort is in play. Because as I said, he creates opportunities for Samipyam. He himself will remove those opportunities, and then he will see whether you are craving for him or not. I was talking to one of the old students uh, who was, Swami was very fond of him. He was a bhajan singer. Swami used to come and speak to him every day. Uh, Swami used to take a lot of care, especially when he was not doing well in his studies, the care that Swami took. And when he wanted to sing bhajans, the response that he got from Swami, everything, a lot of affection and love from Swami. And all of a sudden, it all stopped. That everything stopped. For months, Swami did not speak to him. And then after a few months, Swami comes and speaks to him normally, as nothing has happened. And once Swami started speaking to him, his classmates began coming and telling him, oh, finally, Swami is talking to you. Like, and he asked, why are you saying that? Because he said Swami was not talking to you, but every other day he'll ask one of us, or the teacher, or the warden, is that boy crying? I've stopped talking to him. Is that boy feeling bad? Because that was the purpose, right? You're given a taste of his love, and that love is taken away. Are you craving for his love? Are you craving for that proximity? Right? And in that craving, some amount of self transformation will happen. You will look at yourself and say that, what am I doing wrong? What can I do differently to attract Swami's attention? And slowly that yearning and pining will result in self transformation. And that's why this Salokyam to Samipyam, I feel that journey is a journey of self transformation. As I said, the moment Salokyam happens, there should be a little bit of change in you. And the more you desire to go closer and closer to him, the more and more you will have to change, the more and more you will have to transform. So does that mean that this does not apply to us when we don't have Swami's physical presence anymore? The truth is, Swami is omnipresent, isn't it? That is the eternal truth. Whether he comes down as an avatar and whether the avatar is concluded, all of that is on one side. That's one equation. But the eternal truth is that the Lord is omnipresent. What do I do? Now I know that Swami is with me. I know that Swami has entered my life. What should I do to ensure that I feel close to him? How do I know that he is close to me? Right? This prayer, this desire to feel Swami close to us, I think is independent of whether Swami is physically available or not. There is this beautiful chapter in Satyam Shim Sundaram Part 2. I think if some of you would like to read, you should go and read that. It's a beautiful chapter. It's called The Constant Presence. There's this beautiful episode that happens in this town called Manjeri in Kerala. I think it's in the year 1964 when Swami is actually in Venkatagiri. Swami is there as part of some event which is happening. Swami is in Venkatagiri. But one day Swami manifests in front of this house, right? Somebody is knocking at the door. They open and they find it is Swami. And the beautiful thing is, this family is devotees of Swami. I think there's some Rama Rao or Ramohan Rao or something is that devotee's name. The family is devoted to Swami, and more than anybody else, the daughter in that family, she is very, very devoted to Swami. Somehow she is extremely attracted towards Swami. And they have bhajans in their house, they have Swami's photos in their house. But physically, they have never come to Swami. They've never had Swami's darshan physically. Imagine you have been worshipping Swami, you've been seeing that form in a photograph, and there is a knock on your door, and you open, and it is Swami standing there in flesh and blood. They invite Swami. It doesn't occur to them that this is an appearance. It really, the first few minutes, they actually think that Swami is somewhere in the vicinity. He's visiting some town nearby, and he has just stepped into this particular town, and he has come to their house. Swami comes there, and Swami says, come, let us sit. And Swami enters the puja room. There is a photograph of Swami there. And next to the photograph, there's a chair. Swami sits on the chair. And then they look at the photograph and they look at Swami and say, yes, it is the same person, right? It is the same Swami. Imagine that experience. And the beautiful thing about this experience is, Swami tells them, let's have bhajans. Go around and bring some of your neighbors. Let's have a bhajan session. So this manifestation of Swami is not merely for this family. All the people in the neighborhood come to this house. They sit in front of Swami. They have Swami's darshan. Swami sings bhajans. Swami gives a discourse. This is an experience that is shared by all of these devotees. Imagine that blessing that Swami was giving. And exactly at this time, Swami is actually in Venkatagiri. And a few days later, again, Swami comes. The family has gone out for something. When they come back home, they find all the lights are on in the house. When they open the door and go inside, they find Swami sitting in the chair, on the chair in the puja room. And this is an experience that Swami has given to any number of devotees, right? Devotees who have had the chance of seeing Swami, not seeing Swami. I remember one of my juniors, Swami suddenly walked up to him one day. We were sitting in the bhajan hall, and Swami told him, hey, I went to your mother, she got scared. Swami said, I went to your mother to give her darshan, she got scared. And he didn't know what Swami was telling, so he called up his mother, who was living in Hyderabad. And she was still in that shock. She said, last night I came out of the bedroom. I went to the kitchen to have some water, and I saw Swami standing in the corner. And she said, this was some illusion, or I was still dreaming or whatever. So she said, I didn't have the courage to even open the fridge. I ran back into the bedroom and I went back to sleep. And she said, I don't know whether this was something that I saw or what was it. And here Swami was telling, hey, I went to see your mother and she got scared seeing me. So the truth is, he is there right now. You're sitting in Canada, you're in any part of the world. Swami is very much around you and me. But if I am not feeling him being near me, then there is something that I'm not doing right, isn't it? Or I have to pray for him to show his presence next to me. There is this beautiful Kavali that most of you must have heard, Brother Ravi Kumar Singh, right? Uh, Sai bin Rahana Jai. He was telling us how this Kavali was actually composed to be sung by two people. He and another friend of his sang for the first time. The Kavali was much longer. It was quite different from the way we sing it today. So he says the first time the alap of that Kavali, as we all know today, is Mohabbat ki kami dil mein agar ehsas hota hai, right? So he says originally the couplet which was composed for that is मोहब्बत मोहब्बत का कभी अगर एहसास होता है Zara jhanko to sai paas hota hai, which means when you feel love in your heart, know that it is Swami next to you. But for some reason, this Kavali went through so many iterations. So many times Swami made them sing it. Swami cut paragraphs from it. Swami rearranged the words. Swami said that this should be the final crescendo. So the form in which we all have heard Ravi sir sing uh, in the recent years in front of Swami and even after that is the form that Swami gave to that Kavali. And Swami intended it to be this way, where it says, "Mohabbat ki kami dil mein agar ehsaas hota hai, zara jhanko to sai paas hota hai." He said, at any point in time, if you feel that I am not feeling Swami's love enough, he is around me, he is with me, but I am not feeling him. If you search, if you seek, you will find that you are in Samipyam. Sai paas hota hai. He is near you. So this Samipyam was not limited to Swami in the physical form. This craving for Swami's presence is not limited to him being in the physical form. Right? And this is precisely how Swami would do it. He will give you a little bit of that joy of his presence, and then he will take it away. And this journey from Salokyam to Samipyam is a journey of self-transformation, where you constantly keep looking at yourself and saying that, what more can I do to make him manifest his presence in my life? What more can I change? What more can I do to please him? There is this episode that one devotee shared with me. He came in the 1960s. He got a lot of attention from Swami. The first 4 or 5 years he would come, he could walk right into Swami's room. Swami gave him that kind of proximity and access. Then slowly it happened that Swami stopped talking to him. And that period of Swami abstaining from him and not giving him his attention coincided with multiple financial losses in his life. Right? He came to Swami as a very rich person, and as his business started failing, it looked like Swami was also distancing himself from him. And this was something that people had told him, Swami is talking to you because you're rich. If you become poor, Swami will not talk to you. But his association with Swami and his experiences with Swami, he said that no, this cannot be true. But when it actually started happening like that, he panicked. He said, no, this cannot be true. Swami cannot be this, this person who will distance himself when I become poor. And it came to a point that he said, I needed to ascertain this for myself. No, this is not why Swami is doing this. Swami is doing this with a very specific purpose for my own spiritual journey. So he decided that I'm going to go to Puttaparthi. I'm going to sit there till he speaks to me. If he doesn't speak to me, be it months, years, I'm not going to budge from Prashanti Nilayam. So he tells this to his wife and family. And he says, I'm taking what little money I can afford, going to Puttaparthi. Till Swami speaks to me, I am not going to move out of this place. He comes, Swami ignores him right royally, doesn't come near where he is sitting. And because he has been a devotee who has had such proximity, everybody around him see that, why is Swami doing this to you? Why is Swami not talking to you? But, he doesn't respond to any of them. Days and days go by. He says that he was slowly using up all the money that he had. It came to a point that he had to now really, manage this finances. So he said, from eating 3 times a day, I started eating 2 times a day. I started eating only 1 time a day. And that 1 time a day went from 3 idlis to 2 idlis to 1 idli to. He said it was really tough, but he said, no, even if I'm going to starve to death, I'm not going to move out of here till Swami comes and speaks to me. So he was sitting there one day, and this was a point came where a breaking point had come. He couldn't take it any longer. He said Swami came out for darshan. And Swami was walking a distance away, and he looked at Swami and said, Swami, why are you doing this to me? You are proving right all those stupid remarks that came to me, that you will distance yourself when my, when I become poorer. Why are you doing this to me? And then he was having this conversation with Swami in his mind. And then he said, no, this cannot be Swami. This cannot, the reason why Swami is distancing himself from me cannot be because I am in any way lesser, right? I am not able to help Swami the same way. I don't have the ability to offer wealth the same way to Swami. This cannot be Swami. This is not the Swami I know. And he says, it must be for self transformation. And he starts thinking and he says, is there anything that Swami has told me that I have not been able to do? Is there anything that Swami has asked of me and I have not been able to do? He starts thinking in his mind, and one thing comes to his mind, right? I'm not going into what exactly that thing is. It might be a little bit of a distraction. I'm not going into that. But he remembers one instruction that Swami gives him, which he has somehow mentally been putting away. He's saying that, no, I cannot do this. I mean, it's too much for me to do. So suddenly this thing comes in his mind, and Swami had asked me to do this and I could never do it. And mentally he makes a resolve. He says, okay, Swami, I will do it. From this moment, I have taken a resolve that what you have asked, this change in my life that you have asked, I'm going to do it. The moment he made that mental resolve, Swami, who had walked away, ignoring him a few feet away, a few yards away, Swami was, the moment he made this mental resolve, he says, Swami turned, walked straight to him, and Swami says, Bangaru, epudu vachavu? He's been sitting there for so many weeks and months, perhaps. Swami comes and asks him, when did you come? And he bursts out into tears. He says, Swami, I've been here. I've been craving for you to come and speak to me. And Swami says, I know, I know. Right? So this journey from Samipyam to Salokyam is through self-transformation. Look within, let us look within and say, what more can I change in my life for him to manifest his presence, his nearness to me? Going from Samipyam forward, right, when we were in Swami's presence, Swami gave us a lot of gifts. As you all have seen, Samipyam itself was one of the gifts that he gave. A lot of blessings and grace and all kinds of things that Swami would bless us with. One of the most profound blessings that Swami gave, when I look at my own life and the journey of many of us who have had the opportunity to be around Swami, one of the most profound blessings that Swami gave was that of dissatisfaction. He did not allow us to be satisfied with what he gave. Right? He made us, he ensured that we wanted something more, or this thought that there is something more to this and I'm missing that. Most of you must have heard this beautiful episode from the life of Professor Kasturi. A very interesting episode. Swami is traveling in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Swami is visiting Ayodhya, Kashi, Varanasi. So Professor Kasturi comes up with this idea that Swami is in this holy city of Varanasi. How beautiful it would be for me to get a mantra from Swami. Swami is my guru. If he gives me a mantra in the holy city of Varanasi, in this holy precincts of Kashi Vishwanath, how amazing it would be. So he actually goes and tells Swami that, Swami, if you can bless me with a mantra, I will be very, very happy. Swami also is like, responds to that, oh, very good, I'll give you, I'll give you. So he's, looking at Swami's itinerary, and he's looking for that most perfect time when he can get that mantra from Swami. And he says that they were visiting Sarnath. Sarnath is very, very special. Tomorrow is Buddha Purnima. We are celebrating Buddha Purnima even in Prashanti Nilayam. Lord Buddha gave his first discourse after he attained enlightenment in Sarnath. Right? And Professor Kasturi says that Swami is in Sarnath. We were all living in a hotel in Sarnath. He said, What a perfect place and perfect setting to receive a mantra from Swami. So he decides that one particular day that this is the day I'm going to ask Swami. And he says that he skips his breakfast, and he says it's a special day, so I did not have bath in the hotel. I went and had a holy dip in the Ganga and skipped the breakfast, has not been eating because it's auspicious. You should do upavasa and then go and sit near the Guru, and the Guru will whisper the mantra, and all of that idea that he had. Finally, it is lunchtime. Swami is extremely busy that morning that he is not able to go and ask Swami for this. And lunchtime comes, and the whole entourage is being served food. Finally, Professor Kasturi is sitting in front of his lunch, and he says that before I could swallow the food, I was swallowing my swabs because I was extremely dejected that everything was perfect. It was a perfect setting to receive the mantra. And uh, Swami sat next to him, and Swami said, "Ah, Kasturi, you also have your food." So he knew that the fast was going to break, and that whole mental image of the mantra, perfect setting for the mantra that he had built, was going to come to an end. So he was hesitating to eat, and he was very dull. So Swami looks at him, and Swami says, "Kasturi, what happened? Why are you so upset? Why are you so sad?" And all that he could say to Swami was, "Swami, mantra." He said, "Swami, mantra." And Swami looks at Professor Kasturi and asks, "Why do you want a mantra, Kasturi? Why do you want a mantra?" He says, "Swami, for my sadhana." And Swami asked him, "What is the purpose of sadhana? Why do you want to do sadhana with a mantra?" And Professor Kasturi says, "Swami, to go close to you, to go nearer to you." And Swami is sitting next to Professor Kasturi and having lunch. And Swami looks at Professor Kasturi and looks at himself. And literally the shoulders are brushing against each other. And Swami asks, "How much more closer, Kasturi?" It's a very profound episode. Uh, there are multiple things that have to be understood from this episode. One thing is we should never not acknowledge the blessing that we've already got. Right? Professor Kasturi was in the company of Swami, and maybe somewhere that had slipped in his mind. There is this other beautiful episode in Shirdi Satcharitra when this elderly lady comes and says that I want a mantra from Shirdi Baba. I want a mantra from Shirdi Baba. And Shirdi Baba ignores her, and then she starts fasting unto death. And then the other devotees come up to Shirdi Baba, Shama, and the others come and say, "Baba, why don't you give her a mantra? She's not eating anything and she's becoming weaker by the day. If she dies or something like that, then it's going to be too much trouble now. So why don't you please bless her and give her that mantra that she's asking for? This is too much trouble." Then finally, Shirdi Baba relents and he says, "Okay, ask her to come." And she is brought to Baba's presence, and Baba asks her, "What do you want?" She says, "I want a mantra." And he asks, "Why do you want a mantra? And why do you want it from me?" And she says, "I've accepted you as my guru and I want the mantra from you." Then Baba asks her, "Who is a guru? And why is it so special to receive a mantra from a guru?" And she says, "Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara." Guru is equivalent to the Trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. And then Baba asks her, "If you believe that Guru is equivalent to the Trinity, Guru is so great, why do you seek a mantra other than the name of the Guru? Why can't you chant the name of the Guru itself?" Right? The point of this episode and the episode with Professor Kasturi is we forget the blessing that we have, and then we romanticize an idea of receiving a mantra or having it, something happening to us as Swami giving some special blessing. This somewhere springs from a misconception, a little bit of ego, and a little bit of forgetting to acknowledge the blessing. But all this aside, I can still empathize with Professor Kasturi sitting right next to Swami and saying, I want to go closer to you. That emotion of the devotee in Professor Kasturi is not irrelevant, is not irrational. As I said, Swami would create opportunities for us to have samipyam with him. After I'd completed my education, we all had the opportunity to be around Swami for some time. Swami permitted us, Swami gave us that blessing. So there would be times during morning darshan, right? The students come for darshan only in the evening. For morning darshan, only few of us former students used to be around Swami. We used to be sitting in the bhajan hall, and Swami would be in the interview room. Sometimes he would come after the bhajan start. Sometimes Swami would come as early as 8:20 or 8:30. And when he comes inside the bhajan hall, the devotees would not have started being allowed inside. The other staff members who would come and sing bhajans and play the instruments would not have come, because they come only at 8:45. That's the instruction Swami has given them. And when Swami suddenly comes into this bhajan hall, there would be about a handful of us, right? 5 or maximum 10 of us around Swami. As I said, he created that opportunity of samipyam, or he allowed us to sit in front of him, right? There is in no way we were qualified for that grace. I really can say this with absolute honesty, not humility, honesty, right? I'm not saying this out of humility, I'm saying this out of honesty. We did not deserve being so close to him. He gave us that grace. He created those opportunities of samipyam. But sitting so close to Swami, sitting so near, there was this emotion that used to come in the mind, which I don't know how many of you are fans of ghazals, right? This particular genre of music, especially ghazals of Ghulam Ali. There's this beautiful ghazal that Ghulam Ali sings, and first time when I heard it, I thought that this is exactly what is running in my mind when I sit right in front of Swami, where I could stretch my hand and touch him. Right? That's the samipyam that he gave, where I could stretch my hand and literally pull the hem of his robe, or touch his hand, or touch his feet. He sings in one of his beautiful ghazals, he says, फासले ऐसे भी होंगे ये कभी सोचा न था. फासले ऐसे भी होंगे ये कभी सोचा न था. सामने बैठा था मेरे पर मेरा न था. सामने बैठा था मेरे और वो मेरा न था. Which means फासले means distances. फासले ऐसे भी होंगे ये कभी सोचा न था means I never thought that distances could be like this. That there could be this kind of a distance where सामने बैठा था मेरे. He was sitting right in front of me, but he was not mine. He was not mine, which means there was some distance, there was closeness, but there was some distance. Swami looked at Kasturi and says, how much more closer? Swami, I don't know, but there is a distance. We were sitting in Swami's presence. We were having that closeness, but we knew that there was something that was missing. He was giving himself, but I was not able to take him. Right? So this journey from samipyam going forward is a very, very, very precious movement that happens. As I said, from Salokyam to samipyam is self-transformation. But from samipyam to move forward, there is something more that happens in the mind. Where you look at him and he says, especially physically when we are in front of Swami, yes, he's there. Or even otherwise, yes, we have these miracles happening in my life where I need him, he manifests himself. I see him and he shows signs that he's always there around me. When I call, he shows in some way his presence. But Swami, something is missing. Something is missing. Some distance is still there. There is this beautiful episode in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? It's one of the most profound episodes that happen, and that is chronicled in Srimad Bhagavatam. That of the Rasa Leela. Right? It's a entire sequence of profound lessons in each one of those steps. I'm not going to go into all of that. But I'll tell you a few things that happens in the Rasa Leela, which is Rasa Leela is actually the journey from Salokyam to Samipyam to the Sarupyam and so on. Because what happens is the night comes, the Gopikas have Krishna in their life. Slowly that craving to be closer and closer to God. And he also gives them that Samipyam is also given to them. They have that company of the Lord, but something more. They want something more, right? Eventually they do all these vratas. They do the Katyayani vrata, hoping to be closer to Krishna. Finally, that Purnima night comes when Krishna says, okay, tonight is going to be the night of the Rasa Leela, where Krishna plays the flute. And all the Gopikas actually go mad. When they hear the sound of the flute, they go mad. They're not able to function rationally. They just drop everything that they're doing and they come running to the banks of Yamuna. And Krishna says, why have you come? This is not the right time for you to leave your homes and come and leave your duties and come. But the Gopikas say, we can't help it. We have lost our mind. We have lost our senses. You cannot send us back now. Right? And Krishna encourages them, and Krishna starts talking to all of them. And the sequence of events is suddenly Krishna vanishes. Krishna is no more there in their midst. After Krishna vanishes, they are plunged into sorrow. They said, what is this? We've come all the way here, and Krishna has abandoned us and he has left us. And they start running around and asking all the creepers and flowers and the birds, and where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? And they all sit down heartbroken and they don't know what to do. And that portion of Srimad Bhagavatam is referred to as Gopika Geetam, right? Where the Gopikas sit down because they are pained that Krishna has left them. They start recollecting all the Leelas of Krishna. They sit down and they say, okay, what did Krishna do? What did, do you know this Asura? What happened? And oh, do you know when we complained to Yashoda, what happened? They start recollecting because they have given their mind to Krishna. They cannot take it back and put it in the world. As they tell Uddhava much later, he says, what are you talking about? We have one mind and we have given it to him. We don't have another mind to listen to your lecture of your Vedanta. And then Uddhava realizes that what Ananya Bhakti really is. Right? So they say that we have come to Krishna, we have come to the banks of Yamuna to be with Krishna. We cannot do anything else. Let us be lost in his stories. And they start talking about Krishna, singing about Krishna. And after some time, Krishna comes back. And when Krishna comes back, he says, oh, Gopikas, don't be upset with me. He says, I don't give pain, right? It's not in my nature to give pain. I only removed myself from your presence so that craving can perfect your love. That craving can perfect your journey towards me. And he says, I removed myself, right? In your consciousness, I was far away. But I was nearby seeing what you all are doing. When I've given you this pain, I was seeing what you all are doing. And I saw that you were all lost in stories of me and singing my glory. He says, don't be upset with me. I did this so that I can perfect your love. Right? He gives Salokyam. He gives Samipyam. He removes that Samipyam and makes you crave, or rather he gives you that Samipyam, and at some point you find that no, this is not enough. There is something more. I'm sitting in front of Swami. That's why I said, this gift that Swami has given is that of dissatisfaction. On one hand, you want more. I used to sit in front of Swami and say, Swami, I want more of your time. I want more of, come and speak to me. I want more of your proximity. Right? We all were hoping for that, Swami is going to Kodai. Swami, will you not take me along? Swami is doing something. Swami, will you not even consider me? So on one hand, you were craving for more. On the other hand, I would think, I'm asking for more, but what have I done with what I have already received? This grace that he has already given me, what have I done with that? When I have not been able to do anything much with that, as yesterday Brother Aruna was saying, Salokyam itself is mukti. Salokyam, perfecting Salokyam itself will lead you to release. I was sitting there and thinking, Swami, you were given Salokyam, you were given Samipyam. What have I done with it? With what courage am I asking for more? Right? We were torn between this asking for more and saying that no, I don't deserve more because I have not made use of what I've already received. Right? The Gopikas, he gave them Samipyam and he takes it away. And the next time when he gives them Samipyam, it is through the Rasa Leela. What is it that they actually, the Samipyam that they experience through the Rasa Leela is not of the physical order. Because Krishna reminds them that I am not one. I can become as many as there are devotees. If you're a devotee, you crave. That's what happens in the Rasa Leela, right? One Krishna for each Gopika. That's a different kind of a Samipyam. That's probably from Samipyam when you start to moving towards Sarupyam. That's a different kind of a closeness that you feel. And this is the whole process, what Krishna did to the Gopikas, right? And slowly from Samipyam, you move towards this. Even yesterday we were discussing this. It's a little bit of a different kind of a concept altogether, Sarupyam. You become one in the form of the Lord. This journey from Samipyam onwards, right? Salokyam to Samipyam is self-transformation. Samipyam onwards is actually a journey of self-discovery. In Sanatana Dharma, there are two ways of looking at it. Before I proceed, how much time do I have? Can I take about 5-10 minutes? Can I take about 5-10 minutes? Can I take silence for a yes? Okay, I'll continue. I'll try to wind up in about 5-10 minutes. So this journey of Samipyam to Sarupyam is, in Sanatana Dharma, we speak of two different pathways, but either you start through the path of devotion, moving towards God, right? When you say God, you say that He or Tat, we say. Either you try to find out who is He, or in the path of self-inquiry, you try to find out who am I. So either you try to find out Tat, or you try to find out Aham. If you try to find out Tat, you eventually come to the understanding Tat Twamasi. He and I are not different. Or you start trying to find out who this Aham is, who am I? And you end up with Aham Brahmasmi. I and he are one. So whether you're trying to find out who he is or who you are, in this journey, what happens is the understanding of who he is actually, who he is actually undergoes a modification. I start understanding his true nature a little better with each effort that I make. And as I understand him better, I start understanding myself better too. Right? I understand him better, I start understanding myself better too. So what actually happens in this journey is my understanding of his Swarupa, his real Rupa, undergoes a modification, my understanding of my own Swarupa, that I am not this body, I am not the senses, I am not this individual who has come and who is leading this life between birth and death. I am not the Stula Sharira, I am not the Sukshma Sharira, I am not even the Karana Sharira. This journey of trying to understand him leads me to self-discovery too. And in this journey, slowly, when we say Sarupyam, you start understanding that my Swarupa and his Swarupa are actually not very different. And I think that is Sarupyam. Right? My understanding of who he is and my understanding of who I am undergoes a modification through this journey of craving for his Samipyam, for his true Samipyam. Through that dissatisfaction of, no, this is not enough, I need to know more, I need to understand him more, I need to have him more. And I feel a point comes in this journey where my understanding of my Rupa and my understanding of his Rupa start coming closer and closer and closer. And when it is close enough, the Sāyujyam happens. The word yuj, right? When we speak about yuj, the word yuj actually means to yoke. If you have a bullock cart or a hot horse cart, when you bring the horse or the bullock closer and closer to the cart, when you bring it close enough, then you can yoke the two. The same thing happens in this journey where my understanding of myself and my understanding of he, the two Swarupas come close enough, and then I can aspire for Sayujya, where I find that there is no me, there is no he. And that is the ultimate consummation, and that is alone that state which will give that satisfaction. Till that state is reached, he will be blessing us with this satisfaction. That is what I feel. That sometimes you look at your life and say, Swami, you've given everything, right? You've given me everything. You've given me more than I've asked for, but still I'm dissatisfied, because till I completely discard my identity in you, this journey is not complete. And this whole four-step journey from Salokyam to Samipyam, Samipyam to Sayujyam, as I said, from Samipyam to Sarupyam. And yesterday, as it was said, Sayujyam is actually a gift of grace. It is not effort. When I raise myself through self-discovery, through self-introspection, who am I? Who is he? I can't get stuck with this idea that he is only that body, he is only that name, he is only that form. Similarly, I cannot get stuck with the idea that I am this name and form. When slowly I reach that state of Sarupyam, the gift of Sayujyam is given. And this entire process happens through devotion, through bhakti. Right? And that's why Krishna says, Bhaktyam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. It is only through bhakti you understand me in my tattva, as I am, not as described by somebody else, as I am, tattvataha. Then what happens once you understand his true Swarupa, once I understand my true Swarupa, tatho mam tattvato nyatva. Having known my tattva thus, vishate tadanantaram. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, the shloka is in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Vishate tadanantaram, which means then, once this knowledge is there of who he is and who I am, it is just a matter of occurrence that I will merge in him, that Sayujyam will happen. Right? And when you go through this entire concept, you see that everything Swami is making us do, the pain that Swami gave, the joy that Swami gave of his presence, this blessing that Swami gives us of allowing him to bask in his presence in Prashanti Nilayam, this gift of satsanga that he is giving, this pain of missing him and craving him that he is allowing us to experience, all of it is part of this journey that he is blessing us with. And I really cannot thank Swami enough. I cannot thank enough the Swami and all of you for giving me this opportunity to relive his message, relive this journey. We all have a long way to go. I certainly do. And I really am grateful to Swami for this opportunity. Every moment where we are able to recollect his glory, his name, his love is an opportunity of self-purification, of that self-transformation, and which will eventually lead us to that self-discovery. So thank you all for your very, very patient listening. I certainly have all the time. I'll leave it up to all of you. If you have any questions and if you want to have any discussion, I'm happy to.
For your talk on the quintessence of Salokyam to Sayujyam. You know, there's only a few things I could say because I feel like I just took everything in and I really have to reflect on it, but it really was quite beautiful. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't think I could summarize and give him justice. But I would also want to say, you know, thank you for everyone for coming here today. Are there any questions for Brother Prem? We can pass around the mic. Yes, I'll pass over to you.
Sairam, brother. My question was when you were talking about self-discovery, right? Especially in the context of now feeling Swami within, right? And then self-discovery. I just wanted to ask you if you had an example, say a devotee's, your own, anybody's, who has not started with the Salokyam, Samipyam the way you talked about it, right? Say, I was a student there. I definitely started like that. We prayed for Swami, we received, there was give and take and all of that. But that was with the physical form. There have been devotees outside for whom it has always not been in Prashanthalayam, in the mandir, etc. So my question is, can you think of an example where this plays out in someone's life, where exactly the playing field was not Prashant Nilayam, but it was definitely with Swami? It might just help us to ground this example for our current lives. Thank you.
Sister, thank you for that question. If I were to tell you very generally, I think all the stories that we hear about the great devotees, be it Tukaram, Namdev, Sakubai, Tyagaraja, Meera, they all have this journey, right? They've not seen that physical manifestation of divinity. They've not lived in the presence of an avatar. But in some way, through some manifestation, through some miracle, God turns their attention to him and they actually go through the same journey of trying to feel him more, trying to have him around more. And then that whole journey of what we spoke about. And there are innumerable devotees in Swami's, among Swami's devotees also who have gone through this experience. I'll probably just narrate one which one of my classmates had told me, that he was sitting, this was before he became a student of Swami, he was sitting in the devotees side, and there was this boy who was sitting next to him and he was asking everybody, when does Baba come, where does he come from, what does he do, what happens during darshan. So he could make out that this is a new devotee who has just landed in Prashanti Nilayam for the first time. And if any, I mean, most of you will know that when you're sitting in devotee side and when you have to wait for 3-4 hours, this was invariably something that we all would engage in, right? Ask the person next to you, how did you come to Swami? Or, where are you? What is your experience with Swami? So the moment he found out that this is a very young looking boy, maybe in his early 20s, who started asking these questions, he said, okay, let's ask him, how did he come to know about Swami? So he asked him, and then this devotee narrates a very fascinating story. This young boy, I think he was from the city of Shimla. He says that, he was a college going student, comes from a good family, comes from a well endowed family. And he was saying that a time, everything was going fine in my life. I was good at studies. My family was healthy and happy. All my needs were met. And I was a good student. I had good friends. But he says suddenly something happened and he was slipping into depression. And he could not put his finger on anything and say that this is what is causing it. And he just didn't know why he was getting so sad. And it was a bit scary. He could not take anybody else into confidence and he didn't know what to do about this. So one day when he was coming back from home after college, he happened to see a small temple nearby. So he goes and sits in that temple. And for some reason, as long as he sits in that temple, he feels a lot of peace and calm. His mind doesn't trouble him as much. So he makes that a habit. Every day for a few minutes, he goes and sits in that temple. He doesn't realize that it was actually a temple of Shirdi Baba. Right? He just thought that it is some temple of some saint, but it gives him peace of mind. So he goes and sits there. So one day, one devotee comes to him and he says, have you read the Shirdi Satcharitra? And this boy says, what is that? And that man says, you've been coming to the temple every day, but you have not read the Shirdi Satcharitra. And hands him a book and he says, you read it. This is the story of Baba. And when he goes back and reads that book, he says, after reading that book, I realized that this is not the temple of somebody who lived a few thousand years ago. He lived just a few decades ago. Right? And he said that now I slept into a different kind of a depression because I started feeling this is so unfair. This is so unfair that you have come so, your advent has happened so close to my life, but you have left before I could have the opportunity of being in your presence. And he says that this thought obsessed him, and the previous depression was nothing compared to what he was going through now. And one day he was in his room. He used to have his room on the first floor of his house. He had locked himself up in that room and he started crying bitterly. He says, Baba, what is this? How could you do this to me? How could you not give me the blessing of your presence? And he says, as he was sitting there and crying, Swami manifests in his room in front of him, a form that he has never seen. And he did not know about him. If he did not know even about Shirdi Baba, he of course did not know about Swami. And he thinks to himself, who is this now? Right? I'm asking about Shirdi Baba and I'm craving and crying for him. Who is this? And then Swami appears in front of him and Swami says, why are you crying? I'm here. Right? I have come, I'm here. And then Swami tells him, come to Puttaparthi. I will speak to you there. And that is how this boy has landed up in Prashanti Nilayam. Right? It may appear that all of us, many of us, had a journey with the physical Swami, rather starting with this physical Swami. That's why I would sometimes say that, people become a sadhaka, do sadhana, then have the vision of God. But for some of us, it was the other way around. We had the vision of God. Now we have to do sadhana and become a sadhaka to deserve that blessing that He gave us. But for most people, the journey is not necessarily starting with the physical form. And that is why, I can say with absolute confidence that He is just waiting to come if we ask for Him. If He has not come, if you and I have not seen Him, I have not seen Him, however much I wish, which means I have not craved enough for Him, I have not asked for Him and beseeched Him to manifest Himself in front of me. And even Him manifesting physically in front of me is only one of the ways in which He can answer the prayer, isn't it? Because He has given us that experience. I can sit in front of Swami because mean, this is a very real thing, right? We would crave for Swami's darshan. We will be sitting in front of Swami. Half an hour goes, 1 hour goes, 1.5 hours goes. Then the knee starts paining, the back starts paining. Then you're hungry. Actually, that is precisely when all of these thoughts started coming into the mind. Is this how you wanted Swami? Right? You want Swami, but you are not equipped enough to take him even if he gives himself. He has given himself now, but you're not able to take him. So either you have to become better in receiving him, or you have to receive him in some other way. Right? So him manifesting physically in front of you, it's perhaps one of the smallest things that he can do. But that is not all. We are trying to find a way by which we forge this connection with him, which will eventually lead to Sayujyam. And I think there is no doubt at all. Physical Swami, there, not there, before 2011, after 2011, he is there. If we ask for him, if we call him, he will come.
Are there any other questions?
Sairam, Brother Prem. My question was, is this, so how, you know, how sometimes like we have like ups and downs are normal part of lives. Is this is like when we go through the transformation, is up and down a part of it? Or does that mean we've not attained it fully?
Yeah, definitely it's not going to happen in one stroke. I think that's been our experience. If things change so easily, it would be so wonderful. I think what's important is to acknowledge the immensity of this journey. Right? This is not like acquiring anything else. This is the journey of many, many, many lifetimes. And when we acknowledge that, we will be a little more patient with ourselves and with Swami. There was this beautiful episode narrated by one of my seniors. He was a Balvika student before he became a student of Swami and all of that. So, you know, sometimes when you're in a Balvika's kind of an environment or in the Samiti, it's a small group. So you kind of stand out in that group. So this boy in his Balvika's class happened to be one of the most ideal students, known for his attraction towards meditation. Right? So he used to sit and meditate, and his Balvika's teacher probably will point to him and say, look at him, all of you should meditate like him and all that. You know, you kind of grow in that sort of a image of yourself. And then he comes to Swami. And when he came to Swami, right, as I was telling you about this, when you step into Swami's fold, you just feel that I don't need anything more. There's nothing more I need to ask from him. There is nothing more I need to seek from him, material or spiritual. I am in Swami's presence, and that is enough. It feels like that is a transformation that is going to stay, but that doesn't happen. It's just a matter of time before we start asking for all kinds of things from Swami. But this student, you know, comes into Swami's college, joins Swami's hostel, and then he starts doing meditation. And he says when he started doing meditation, he has never meditated like that. He would just sit down, close his eyes, and go into a deep state of meditation, and he was enjoying that bliss. Right? So he thought that, my God, I'm able to meditate so well, and I'm probably this is what the deal is all about. He says 3 months went by, and then hell broke loose. He said he would sit down and close his eyes, and all the crappiest thoughts in the world would come and fill his head, and he felt miserable. Right? He thought that something was completely wrong with him, because I mean this is like a fall, right? This is not like you're a bad person. You are something great, and something has happened, and this is like retracing your step. So he panicked, and he didn't know what was going wrong. So he wrote a letter to Swami. He said, Swami, this is all is happening and I'm not able to meditate. And he says, but by then the image has been created, right? In the hostel, they look at you as, oh, here is this very sattvic boy, oh, the boy who meditates, the boy who is ideal. So he was embarrassed that this was happening to him, and what would happen if all of his classmates find out that this is what is going on in his head and all of that. So he writes this letter to Swami, and he says, I put it in an envelope and I sealed it because I didn't want Swami to read this in front of my friends. But he wanted to tell Swami and wanted to open up with Swami. So he writes this letter and he gives it to Swami. And Swami also acknowledges this emotion with which he has written it, that he didn't want it to be read and addressed in front of others. So Swami calls him inside the interview room, and Swami asks him, what is the problem? What is troubling you? And then he says this whole thing. He said, Swami, when I sit for meditation, all of this is happening and I feel like I'm falling. Swami asks him one simple question. Swami says, there are so many yogis and sannyasis and monks in the Himalayas. Do you know that they all have been practicing dhyana for hundreds of years? Right? They do yoga and extend their life so that they can do dhyana. So Swami says, for hundreds of lives they've been doing dhyana and they have still not perfected doing meditation. You think you will sit here for 3 months and you will master meditation? Right? Swami said, be patient, keep trying. Right? So the episode is revealing in so many ways, right? You could be right in front of Swami. When you say dhyana, I mean, he's the one we are doing the dhyana on, right? He's the form and he's the name I'm doing dhyana on, and I'm in his presence, but still my mind can go up and down. I could be right in front of him, and that's been the experience for many of us. Right? I used to tell some of my classmates that people say that the first time when they came and saw Swami, they felt tranquility, or whenever they sit in darshan, they feel that the mind becomes very calm. My experience was exactly the opposite. You sit in front of Swami and your mind goes mad. All kinds of things start happening in the head. All kinds of thoughts start coming to the mind. Right? Because in a way, I think Swami was showing us the flaws that were in us so that we can work on it. The other thing is, this is a journey of many, many lifetimes. I'm not saying that it cannot be attained in this one lifetime, but when we acknowledge the immensity of this ambition that we have given ourselves in this lifetime, we will be a little more patient with us, and there will be up and down, right? So even when we talk about Salokyam, Samipyam and all of that, I don't think it is like graduating from one class and then we don't have to look back. I feel this will happen in cycles. This will happen slowly. Slowly we are still, I feel I'm still really in that Salokyam, little bit of Samipyam, and I go back to Salokyam. And maybe a little bit I understand, the more I read, the more I contemplate about Sarupyam a little more. But again, I fall back to Salokyam if something happens in my life. Ups and downs will keep happening, right? That's why I say in the Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter is called Vishada Yoga, which means the starting for yoga is sorrow. Right? Sorrow is the best torchlight to show where we stand in this spiritual journey. We all go through a lot of things, we study and we think we have gained knowledge and we've moved forward. When something happens in our life, when there is a knock in our life, then we will see where exactly we stand. It's an opportunity for us to go back, go forward, learn and go. So I think that up and down will happen. It will cease only when that Sayujya happens. Till then, there will be a little bit of back and forth. I think that's my understanding.
Thank you, Brother Prem, for answering our questions and for your time today. All I can say is I hope we continue to have that yearning for nearness to Swami, and we have continuous opportunities to experience his light and experience his grace. So thank you again, brother. Just